Tomorrow, we've got the Cowboys facing the Washington Commanders for Thanksgiving, and there might be a little bit of an unexpected quarterback duel brewing up between these two teams. Let's get into it. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Prime Time. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. And as always, hit the like button for me if you enjoy this show. Tomorrow, we've got a game which feels super random. Even though we do this every single year, I still cannot get used to it, especially because it's not a Thursday night football game. It is one that happens at 3:25 Central Time. So I'm excited about it, though, as always. Cowboys versus Commanders. This is an intriguing matchup for me because the Cowboys are double-digit favorites, and they should be. But I could see the path towards this one being a little bit closer than many would expect. And that is just because the Commanders have a solid quarterback. Let's call Sam Howell solid for now. But he has some gunslinger traits that we're going to talk about on tonight's show. And it makes for a much more fun matchup than the Panthers game or the Giants game or the Rams game before that. I mean, I know the Eagles showdown was between the Rams and the Giants, but the Eagles game was different, obviously. Uh, can you hear it in Mo's voice about the game time? Says Toxic Tom F. Man, it is part of it. Like the fact that, you guys know that I'm from Mexico, and Thanksgiving is not a day that is a holiday, for example, here. So for most of my life, it was a time where I had to be making up some excuses to, miss class. I even missed quizzes and exams at times because I had to see the Cowboys. Now those days are behind me, with college in the rearview mirror, and we're doing this full time. But I can tell you that was a random experience. It's random here in Mexico to have this game in the middle of a work day, and people are like, I cannot watch the game. I need to watch it from home because it is rare where, people get Thanksgiving off here in Mexico because it's not like a national holiday. So I think that might be what makes it a little bit more random for me. But now that this is my full-time job, I basically live it the same as you guys, which is exciting. But obviously, that's all, half kidding. But I'm excited about the game, obviously. Should be a fun one. Let's get to the script very quickly before we dive into the rest of the show. This is basically a preview show. So tonight, we'll start off with some gunslinger talk and what I mean with the whole Sam Howell situation. We'll also get into Sam Howell's problem, which could translate to the path towards winning for Dallas. 3 battles to watch on this one. As always, we'll close it out with betting the Cowboys, our weekly segment where we make one Cowboys bet or one game in the Cowboys game. It can be against them. We have bet against them in the past. But tonight, we are going to try to build on a 8-2 record because we are 8-2 making betting picks for Cowboys games. And that is a fantastic mark. We make minus 110 bets because we are aiming for a 53% hit rate, which would make us profitable for the season. And we are at 80%. And I don't want to brag, but we also killed it last year. So we are doing very well. We're doing very well. So we'll see what the pick is later tonight. Mitesh says that I should bet the coin toss. I only do that when it's time for the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie. I always bet the coin toss in the Super Bowl, and I always make all sorts of wild bets in the Super Bowl. My Super Bowl betting strategy is 50-50. 50% of the money that I decide to bet on it is a straight up bet, a serious bet. So basically like a side. And then the other 50% is spread up by multiple weird bets, and that includes the over under on the duration of the national anthem. That includes halftime prop bettings, all sorts of wild stuff. We enjoy watching sports with some money on it. Blood Slinger says, is Shaquille Leonard any better than Rashawn Evans? That is a good question, Mr. Slinger. Last night we dove deep into that, so you might want to check that out. I will say probably not. Probably not in 2023. He probably has more upside than Rashawn Evans, but he is not a better linebacker as of today, I would assume, especially when you look at why he was waived from Indianapolis. And we went over that last night. But one of the words that was used by a Colts insider to me to describe Leonard's caliber of play was unplayable versus the pass. So that seems like a very strong indictment as to who Shaquille Leonard is post back injury. So we'll see what happens. He's now a free agent, so I could see the Cowboys being in on it because that would mean a low price tag, which seems to be a very important characteristic of any free agent pickup that the Cowboys are interested in. But anyways, let's move forward here with the show, and let's get on with the gunslinger talk. What the heck do we mean when we say that Sam Howell is low-key playing like a gunslinger in the NFL? I'm going to start with a stat, and this is per Pro Football Focus. Sam Howell is actually first in the NFL in big-time throws with 24 of them. No one else has as many big-time throws in the league as he does. Now, let's break it down a little bit, because that doesn't necessarily mean that he is the best one percentage-wise. In fact, he isn't. He's 10th best in percentage of big-time throws, and that's because Washington low-key has a very pass-happy offense, which really shouldn't be a surprise considering Eric Bieniemy, the former offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, and somebody that you could very well argue that the Chiefs are missing, is there. And it isn't a surprise that they're throwing the football that much. But Sam Howell is being efficient in doing so. He does risk the football, and he does have some problems. But to me, this is where the game gets fun for Thanksgiving. This is a game where I am a little bit more threatened by the quarterback than I was against Bryce Young, against Tommy DeVito, and not really Matthew Stafford, but also maybe a little bit of Matthew Stafford, because the Rams have been, just suffering with that offensive line, and they haven't really been super explosive this year. They did have Cooper Kupp and Puka when the Cowboys faced them in Week 8, but this one might be a little bit different. Howell has Terry McLaurin as well. This is one area where I believe that the game could get more interesting than many of the blowouts that we've seen recently. The Commanders have a slightly better offensive line. Now, we're not talking about a top 10 unit, but we're talking about an average 15th, 16th type unit. According to Ben Baldwin's latest composite ratings, they are the 16th best offensive line pass protection-wise, and that's a little bit of a step up as compared to the Panthers and the Giants and the Rams. I'm using those three examples because in those three games, the Cowboys were also huge favorites. In the case of the last two games, they've been double-digit favorites. They are double-digit favorites once more for Week 12. So that's why I'm going to those games as comparison and saying this one could be closer than that, because you're facing a team with a slightly better O-line and a slightly more aggressive quarterback. And you look at a lot of what Sam Howell has done this year, and it's a lot of pushing the ball downfield, outside the numbers, but also over the middle of the field. And he's got a very nice arm. I'm going to say that. He's got a pretty strong arm. Again, he can really find those sweet spots in coverage when he has time and when he can maneuver the pocket, which might be where the key is to this game. And we're going to get into that briefly. It's not like he's playing without wideouts. He's got McLaurin. He has even Dotson and Curtis Samuel, who is basically now their slot guy. and an offensive line that has a couple of solid offensive tackles, and most of the pressure that the Cowboys can generate could come from the inside. Now, Dallas is different because their pass rush is elite. Number one pass rush win rate in the NFL, and the Commanders are around, average, as we said. But this is an offense that has some answers for their unit. However, they can't turn the football over. And that's where I look at this game and I'm like, you know what? The game could get out of control. Because if you look at Sam Howell, when he's under pressure, nobody has thrown more turnover worthy plays than he has. And when you look at just the average of his plays that, are turnover worthy plays, his percentage, not average, percentage is the 12th highest in the NFL. Dak's is 37th. So we looked at the big time throws and we saw that Dak and Sam Howell in a way were neck to neck. The difference is Sam does it while also risking the football a whole lot. Dak takes care of the ball very well. After a year of talking about the interceptions for Dak, we've seen Dak revert back to his old self and his usual self, a more accurate way of describing it. And he is taking care of the football, but he's also throwing big time throws at a very high rate, third highest in the NFL, actually. So, in conclusion, quote unquote, let's just say Sam Howell could generate much more explosive plays than the last few opponents that Dallas has faced. However, the Cowboys are going to get in the situation where they're going to rush Sam Howell better than most opponents and could force him into some mistakes. When the play breaks down and Sam Howell needs to extend the play, he can do it with his legs and he gets in a position to do it, but then he makes some erratic decisions and some erratic throws. That's why they lost the game to the New York Giants, 31-19. It wasn't really that the Giants were better. In fact, the Commanders were mostly the better team, and they mostly outplayed the Giants, but they turned over the football 6 different times, and that includes 3 interceptions from Sam Howell. So they were bound to lose that game, but they should have won it. They should have won it against the Giants. So Howell is going to give you opportunities, and we know that the Cowboys can make the most out of them. They've got Daron Bland, who is getting some legitimate defensive player of the year type of arguments in favor of him. Stephon Gilmore is playing good football as well. People like to complain about Jordan Lewis. I feel like those are a little bit exaggerated, those complaints. But the Cowboys defensive backs are going to have an opportunity on this one. Something that could be worthy of, talking about too is Jaron Kearse is not going to be around for tomorrow. In fact, he was listed as doubtful on the final injury report. And that in NFL speak, that means he's not playing, because I believe no NFL player who has been doubtful this year has actually made it to game day. That's the way that injury reports work. If you're listed as doubtful, it would take a miracle for you to play on Sunday. That's how these teams label their players, while questionable can really mean anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thought all of that was pretty important for us to get through, because Logan Thomas hasn't really been much of a threat this year. But if suddenly the Cowboys cannot put Jaron Kearse on him, is he the guy that Sam Howell wants to go to? We'll find out. I pretty much would assume that mostly the threats for this game are going to be the wide receivers. So a little bit more of a quarterback duel that some people might expect, because these two players are going to push the ball downfield, and Sam Howell could generate some explosive plays. The secondary is going to be challenged in that way. Toxic Tom says gunslingers are known for dying early and often. And that is the thing, right? Sam Howell is just going to risk the football and he's going to get some wins. The thing is, against this defense, it will be tough for the wins to outweigh the L's by the time that the game is over. Let's see. Holly says rivals on a short week too. And this is very true. After all, this is one of the biggest things about this game, the fact that both teams are turning around within 4 days and they're playing each other. The Cowboys, fortunately, were able to get out of Carolina mostly uninjured, right? I know that the Jaron Kears thing makes it seem like I'm lying, but for the most part, the Cowboys were pretty healthy out of Carolina. And that is something very positive to celebrate, honestly, even though the Cowboys already have some absences like Leighton Vander Esch and Trevon Diggs. Like talking about recent injuries, it was just Jaron Kears in that game. I'm very intrigued as to how they go about it, by the way, because I would expect Juan J. Thomas, obviously, to take over Kears' role, but also how much is that going away from the dime package and instead seeing maybe more of Rashaan Evans as well at linebacker. We'll find out how exactly they go about it, but I'm pretty sure that the coaching staff likes what they see in Rashaan Evans because they've shown us that they really like the second-year player that they got in him. John Jones says, happy Thanksgiving, Mo, and Cowboys Nation. Let's go. Let's get this win tomorrow, says John. I think we're all excited about this one. Happy employees, happy better returns, excuse me, says Toxic Tom. Always treat your workers well. Not exactly sure what that means, but or if it was in response to something else. Respect your division rivals. Holly says, is it bad that this game makes me nervous? No, I don't think it's bad. Listen, it's a divisional game. It's an NFC East showdown. And it's not like this team is quarterback-less. I think quarterback-less teams scare me, way less than a team that has the leader in big-time throws in the NFL and a coordinator like Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is a very solid coordinator. People didn't want to give him credit for his work over at Kansas City. And the truth is, we're seeing the Commanders' offense, in my opinion, play to a higher level than its talent. And we are seeing the Chiefs struggling. And some people want to make it all about the wide receivers out there in Kansas. But I would tell you that, hey, it might also have a lot to do with Eric Bieniemy because that offense does not look comfortable right now. And you see the Chiefs tape, and you see a lot of wideouts that are looking very confused out there. And yes, I know the Cowboys are not playing Kansas, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But regarding the Eric Bieniemy conversation, I feel like that is very relevant. Double R says, Mo, do you hand out tacos for Thanksgiving? Just wondering. No, but when I have been a part of Thanksgiving dinners, we do the usual traditional Thanksgiving type dinner. So no tacos here, no tacos. I know that Double R is kidding, but I think tomorrow I'm going to have some steak, some barbecue type steak, which is super random for Thanksgiving, I know. But again, you know my situation. I'm actually in Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on a little bit here on the show. Last but not least, I did want to mention one way to slow down, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in depth here in a moment. I actually wanted to put together some all-22 tape, was not able to. But one of the keys here to stop Sam Howell is obviously get him under pressure. But I think that the way to go about it could be with a heavy focus on inside pressure. This is nothing new for the Cowboys. They've done it all year, and they did it most of last year as well, where they were trying to get Micah Parsons into a position where he can threaten the quarterback via the A gap or the B gap. Against the Panthers, 3 different times Micah got to the quarterback, and those 3 times he was rushing through the A gap, and he was doing it through stunts too. At first, it was a stunt with DeMarcus Lawrence. Then you saw a stunt with it wasn't really a stunt. It was more like a inside move more than anything, with Armstrong and Fowler occupying tackle and center respectively. And then you had Micah one-on-one against the left guard, Chandler Zavala, and Micah destroyed the guy. Then second sack for Micah, that is a stunt with D-Law, but that isn't an end tackle stunt. That is more like a tackle stunt where they are both inside and D-Law occupies the center and the left guard, and Micah just goes off through the A-gap untouched on his way to Bryce Young. Final sack of the play is more interesting because he's got Massey Smith occupying the blockers, and Jaron is basically shooting like 3 gaps to his right in order to get to the quarterback. That will be huge against the Commanders because the biggest weakness in that offensive line might be the center. Sam Howell's pressures, mostly when you look at just the offensive line pressures that he allows, that the Commanders allow, most of them come through the center percentage wise. The center is one of the highest, he has one of the highest responsibility percentages in the NFL in terms of pressures allowed. That means most of the pressures that the Commanders allow are his responsibility. On top of that, Sam Howell is a guy that pressures himself a whole lot. So this could be one where Dallas is chasing Sam Howell all around the backfield. And we know that the Cowboys do have the speed to get to him. I think that's going to be a huge story of this one, getting that inside pressure. Holly says Micah's first step was crazy on Sunday. And it really was. Micah was just, I tweeted this picture out. Let me see if I can find it find it very quickly, where I think that's the first sack of the game. Yeah, I do have it here. Let me try to put it out here. And Micah, man, the ball is snapped. And yes, everyone is just reacting to the move. But look at where Micah is. Micah is chilling on his knee, on one knee. The ball is already snapped. Look at the center right there. And Micah is with one knee on the floor. He hasn't even gotten up. And again, you can see most players have not even taken their first step, but everyone is set. Like you get the offensive line ready to go. You see Fowler ready to go, and the same for Lawrence on the left side. Armstrong is standing up. But Micah is going to pop up from his one knee, which is in the dirt, and he's going to make the sack on this play, which I thought was hilarious to see. Micah was on another level on Sunday. And, you know, there was a lot of jokes made about the C4 thing where he took this energy powder / supplement for workout supplement or whatever, pre-workout supplement. I was watching the sounds from the sideline video, and that was so fun because you could see Micah going through it. He even had to get oxygen on the sidelines, and we knew about the reports that people were saying that he was vomiting on the sidelines. But even Micah on the post-game interview was like, well, maybe it worked, right? Because he was off to a fast start. And if it did, I'm looking forward to seeing if he will, as he said on the interview, take half a scoop next time. We'll see. More than likely, he won't, because he did say that his heart felt like it was beating out of his chest. So hopefully that won't become an issue or anything like that. But he was fast on Sunday. I don't think it has to do with the C4 thing, but still something funny to monitor at the very least. You know, he's going to be asked about it. He's going to be asked about it post game. Did he or did he not take C4 for Thursday? We'll find out. Micah is eating explosives now, says Tom and 15. That's what it feels like, for sure. That is what it feels like. Anyways, 3 battles to watch, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday. I already talked about the A-gap pressure, which is on the right side of the screen. Let's go through the center of the screen. Linebackers against this group of running backs, especially Brian Robinson. Man, Brian Robinson is playing good this year. And there's a lot to be said about the running backs there between Robinson and between Antonio Gibson. These two guys are very involved in the passing game. Sam Howell is willing to, one, check it down to the running backs, but they also like to run screens. I mentioned this briefly last night. People misinterpreted Washington's offense, in my opinion. It's not that it's a whole lot of screens. It's that they are very timely. If you look at Sam Howell's numbers, he isn't one of the quarterbacks with the highest screen count in the league. It just happens that they are very effective with them, especially with the running backs. I think that that's going to put some stress on the Cowboys linebackers, and we've seen Marquise Bell and Damon Clark have some ups and downs. I've talked about being concerned about the physicality of the linebacker room, but this one will be more of a speed test and athleticism test, and I think they should pass that one with flying colors. but the tackling will be a point of emphasis for this game and something to monitor very closely, because I do think the Commanders are about to put a whole lot of stress on both Bell and Clark when the game kicks off on Thursday. But it's going to be a fun matchup to watch. How did the Commanders do targeting their running backs, whether it's like simple running back routes, like, check down routes or flats or bubbles or whatever, or whether it's running back screen, something to watch for sure. And as every time that the Cowboys play the Commanders, we do need to mention that matchup. That is the interior offensive line against Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. Listen, some people say that Allen and Payne are not playing to their usual level. Man, that is just not true. The Commanders might not be relevant enough for us to be constantly discussing it, but these two players are on another level as usual. It's one of the best defensive tackle duos in the entire league, and they are definitely a threat to the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have a very solid group with Tyler Smith and Zach Martin. I know that Zach Martin is not playing at his usual Hall of Fame level, but Tyler Smith is honestly one of the favorites, in my opinion, to be a first-team All-Pro when the season is over. And Tyler Viadish is, Tyler Viadish is difficult to describe because he's good. He's just not maybe somebody that's going to make Pro Bowls or going to make All-Pro teams, and that's why some people don't want to give him any sort of credit. However, these three guys will have their hands full against Jonathan Allen and Payne. Jonathan Allen, in fact, right now ranks 7th in the NFL in total pressures by an interior defensive lineman. And he doesn't have a whole lot of sacks. He has 6 of them, but that is a lot for a defensive tackle. Like I think he's tied for 4th most. There are several players that are at 4, and Payne might not have the numbers that Allen produces, but I do believe he is still one of the best duos alongside Allen that there are in the NFL. Dak Prescott has been pressured very little in this season. He's one of the QBs with the least pressure or pressured dropbacks. I think he's got the 4th best mark in that area. And that also has to do with his efficiency, getting rid of the football lately. However, if there's one game where things like that could go wrong is when he faces inside pressure, because I believe that the Cowboys could struggle a little bit against one of the best groups in the NFL, but we'll see what that looks like tomorrow. They did a good job against the Eagles, and that was very promising. So ultimately, I do believe the Cowboys take care of business even against that matchup, which is one of the most favorable matchups in this one for Washington. Now, all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, all that being said, let me know in the chat, who are you taking tomorrow and what is your scoreboard? Because today it is time for us to get into the predictions. Ladies and gentlemen, I see some of your comments. Washington is a good screen team, says Tommy, and I agree. Good thing we have fast linebackers. Let's see here. Blood says, I missed Madden calling the plays on Thanksgiving. Man, John Madden, absolute legend. Rest in peace. Toxic Tom says, Tyler Viadish has been average, but an average center is very hard to find, and that is a very good way to put it. Let's see some of your scoreboards, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you mine in just a second, but first let me get to my bet because it is a complicated one to make. The Cowboys were minus 10.5 like yesterday, and now I think the spread has shifted towards minus 13.5. So it is quickly approaching the 2 touchdown mark, and it could get there by tomorrow. Like it could get to 14, in my opinion, by tomorrow. The over-under stands at 48.5, and I'm going to tell you right now, after covering such a large spread against the Panthers and against the Giants in back-to-back weeks, I don't want to touch the spread. I'm not touching the spread for the Cowboys in this one, especially because I believe it will be a tougher team to put away. Keywords: put away. The Cowboys have put away the Panthers, and they did the same against the Giants and the Rams before the Eagles game. And I believe those three were easy to put away because of the mismatch in the trenches. I'm not sure that exists at that level on this game. The Cowboys pass rush is obviously much better than the Commanders offensive line, but the offensive line that the Commanders have, is not a bottom 12 unit in the league like the other opponents. So I don't want to touch the spread because of that, but give me the over. I think this is a game that could have more points on the board than some people expect on both sides of the ball. I think that the Cowboys can easily punish the 30th passing defense in the NFL according to EPA per play. But I also think that the Commanders could find some explosives on this one. Give me the Cowboys winning 35-23 is what I posted on adcsports.com. And this should be a fun game tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoy Thanksgiving. I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you tonight, 8 p.m. Central, after the game, hopefully, to talk about a Cowboys win. I realize many people might not be around to watch the show, but if you are, make sure you tune in 8 p.m. Central. Solid says Thursday games are always weird. This game is 17-16 Cowboys. Holly calls for 3 Micah Parsons sacks. 31-23 Dallas is toxic. Oh my God, almost right there. I'll take the points for Washington. Mexican Cowboy says nice drawing of Micah sack. Hey, shout out to Mexican Cowboy. Appreciate you, man. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, this is what he's talking about. I posted this on Twitter. You can go find them at Mao NFL. Those are my doodles of the Micah Parsons sack, so you can go check them out over there. Shout out to Mexican Cowboy for bringing those up. Wanted to put together an X's and O's video for you, but I was not able to. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central. Bye-bye.